Every time you diet, you may be feeding the one type of fat most likely to kill you, not the fat under your skin, not the fat you can pinch, the fat wrapped around your organs, the fat hiding deep behind your abdominal wall, the fat linked to heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver disease, inflammation, cognitive decline, and premature death. And here's the terrifying part. Many people spend months trying to lose weight, only to discover they're losing everything except that. Their arms get smaller, their legs get smaller, their face gets thinner, their strength drops, their energy drops. But the deep fat surrounding their organs barely changes, or worse, it becomes even more stubborn. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not failing. Because the very strategies helping you lose muscle may be the exact same strategies helping visceral fat survive. And almost nobody is talking about it. Most people believe fat loss is a calorie problem. Eat less, move more, problem solved. But your body doesn't experience life through spreadsheets. Your body responds to signals, hormones, stress, sleep, recovery. And when those signals are wrong, the body follows survival rules instead of fat loss rules. That's where this entire story begins. With a hormone called insulin. Most people think insulin is simply a blood sugar hormone. It's much more powerful than that. Think of insulin as the storage manager of your metabolism. When insulin rises, your body receives a message: store energy, protect reserves, do not release fuel. Thousands of years ago, this was brilliant. Food was unpredictable. Famines were common. Humans who stored energy survived. Humans who didn't disappeared. But insulin isn't acting alone, because every metabolism has a second switch, and most people never turn it on. Human growth hormone, HGH, the complete opposite signal. If insulin tells the body, store energy, HGH tells the body, release energy, protect muscle, burn fat, repair tissue, recover. Think of your metabolism like a room with two switches. One switch says store, the other says mobilize, build, burn, repair. The problem is both switches cannot dominate at the same time. And this is where things become fascinating. Studies show HGH can rise between roughly 1,300% and 2,000% above baseline during prolonged fasting and deep sleep. Not because your body is malfunctioning, because it is protecting itself. When food is scarce, HGH acts like a biological bodyguard. It protects muscle tissue. It tells the body, burn the stored fuel, leave the engine alone. The problem is that most modern fat loss strategies never create the conditions for HGH to rise significantly. Frequent eating, constant snacking, sugar throughout the day. Insulin stays elevated, HGH stays suppressed. One switch stays on, the other never activates. You're pressing the gas pedal and the brake pedal at exactly the same time, and then wondering why the car isn't moving. And this is the part most people never hear. Because visceral fat doesn't play by the same rules as normal body fat. Visceral fat is different. It isn't passive. It isn't sleeping. It isn't just sitting there waiting to be burned. It is biologically active, and it is packed with cortisol receptors. Think of them as high-gain antennas. Every time your body produces a stress signal, visceral fat hears it loudly. Studies consistently show that visceral fat contains a much higher concentration of glucocorticoid receptors than subcutaneous fat, making it far more responsive to cortisol. In simple terms, stress speaks directly to belly fat, and belly fat listens immediately. But cortisol doesn't stop there, because cortisol isn't just talking to fat, it's also talking to your liver. And this is where the trap begins. When cortisol rises, your liver receives an emergency signal. The body assumes food may be scarce. Survival mode activates, and the liver begins manufacturing fresh glucose from amino acids through a process called gluconeogenesis. In simple terms, your body starts making its own sugar, even when you haven't eaten, even when you're fasting, even when you're desperately trying to lose fat. Blood sugar rises. The pancreas notices. insulin is released, and suddenly the entire environment changes. The fat-burning signal weakens, the storage signal returns. The vault doors begin closing again, not because you ate, because stress triggered the process from the inside, and this is where millions of people get trapped. The more stress they create, the more cortisol rises. The more glucose the liver produces, the more glucose appears, the more insulin is released. And the more insulin rises, the harder it becomes to access stored fat. Your body interprets the situation as a possible famine, not a fitness goal, not beach season, survival. And survival biology is ruthless. The moment cortisol rises, a chain reaction begins. Visceral fat receives the signal. The liver receives the signal. The body begins preparing for danger. Research repeatedly shows that chronic cortisol elevation is associated with increased visceral fat accumulation and worsening metabolic health. The very hormone helping you survive stress may also be helping your belly fat survive your diet. And it gets worse, because now your body starts stealing from somewhere else. When cortisol stays elevated long enough, muscle becomes a target. Your body is literally dismantling expensive tissue to create emergency fuel. This is why so many people experience the same frustrating pattern. The scale goes down, the muscle goes down, the metabolism slows, the belly stays. You become lighter, but not leaner, smaller, but softer. The body isn't malfunctioning, it's following instructions. And then most people make the exact mistake that accelerates the entire process. More cardio, more running, more elliptical sessions, more sweating, more suffering. Most people assume this has to work, but your body doesn't always interpret cardio the way you think. 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, day after day. Your brain doesn't see fat loss. Your brain sees prolonged physical effort with uncertain food availability. Evolution has seen that situation before. It's called migration. And migration was often followed by starvation. The response? More cortisol, more muscle breakdown, more energy conservation. Multiple studies have shown that excessive endurance exercise can significantly elevate cortisol while increasing protein breakdown when recovery is inadequate. In other words, you may be burning muscle to protect belly fat. That's the opposite of what most people are trying to accomplish. So, how do you reverse this? How do you lose visceral fat without sacrificing muscle? How do you convince your body that it is safe enough to let go? The answer is surprisingly simple. But there is one mistake that destroys everything, and we'll get to that in a moment. First, you need to understand the 4 signals that completely change the hormonal environment. The first signal is sleep. Most people expect food to come first, but the largest natural surge of human growth hormone doesn't happen in the gym. It happens while you're asleep. Studies show HGH can increase dramatically during deep sleep and prolonged fasting. Its job is simple: protect muscle, mobilize fat, repair tissue, recover. Think of HGH as your overnight repair crew. Every night it enters the building and starts fixing what was damaged during the day. One of the most powerful fat-burning and muscle-preserving hormones in the human body. Poor sleep does the opposite. More cortisol, more cravings, more insulin resistance, more fat storage. You cannot out-train a body that thinks it's under attack every night. But most people never allow that crew to do its job. But sleep alone won't solve the problem. The second signal is resistance training. Muscle is expensive. Your body does not keep expensive tissue unless it absolutely has to. Every time you lift, push, pull, squat, or challenge a muscle, your body receives a message. This tissue is important. Keep it, repair it, build it. Research shows resistance training can significantly elevate growth hormone by several 100% above baseline while preserving lean mass during fat loss. You are teaching your body what stays, but muscle cannot survive without raw materials. That's where protein comes in. Protein isn't just calories. Protein is information. Protein tells the body, resources are available, repair can happen, muscle can be maintained, Without adequate protein intake, fat loss becomes much more likely to come from muscle tissue. Your body cannot rebuild what it doesn't have materials to construct. And then comes the most underrated fat loss tool on the planet: walking. Not sprinting, not suffering. Walking. When you wake up, insulin is naturally lower. H remains elevated. The hormonal environment shifts. The body is already positioned to access stored energy. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that individuals exercising in a fasted state burned significantly more stored fat than those who ate beforehand. Not because they worked harder, because the hormonal environment was different. The doors were open. Sometimes the most powerful signal is also the least dramatic. But remember the mistake I mentioned? The one that destroys everything? It's chronic stress, because stress can override every single benefit we just discussed. Poor sleep, overtraining, constant anxiety, never slowing down, always pushing, always worrying, always stimulating. If cortisol stays elevated all day, sleep suffers, recovery suffers, fat loss suffers, muscle preservation suffers. The entire system shifts back into survival mode. Your body is not broken. It is not refusing to burn fat. It is not sabotaging you. It is responding exactly the way millions of years of evolution programmed it to respond. The problem isn't your effort. The problem is the signal. Visceral fat is not stubborn because you're weak. It's stubborn because your body thinks it's protecting you. Change the signals, and the biology begins to change. The cortisol antennas quiet down. The fat cell doors begin to open. The muscle stays where it belongs. And for the first time, your body starts working with you instead of against you. The question isn't whether your body can burn fat. The question is, what signal are you sending it right now?